Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me or not, but Elise just let me know she is almost there.
Mallory, are you able to hear her?
I'm sorry, it's really hard to hear you.
Okay.
Can you say that again?
I was just asking if you could hear her.
Oh, yes, I am here. I was just stating earlier too, I don't know if Elise is there yet, but she said she is really close. So she'll be there shortly.
Okay. Sound like, Mallory's remote, Elise is on her way. Stephanie said she got off at 4 o'clock, driving here from Canopy, just depending on the people coming from Berlin because it's hot, traffic, she'll get here as soon as she can. Or if we want to just wait a few more minutes. I have not heard from her. We want to get started. Everyone's here. Thank, I'm not sure if Mallory is going to, are you gonna make it here at some point, or are you gonna be virtual the whole meeting?
My hope is to be there for the not the work session, the actual meeting, but we will see how traffic goes.
In that case, then I suppose, Ben Gray, you wanna, take the reins?
All right, ready to kick off our working session. Welcome, everyone. As a reminder, the work sessions are an opportunity for board members to discuss issues informally with staff and invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend the work session and listen to the discussion, but there is generally for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled monthly meetings. Right. Start off the agenda with the events and rolling calendar.
Yeah, and there is some copies of the agenda, looks like folks were able to pick them up. So starting with the events and rolling calendar, we've got, starting off with the public meetings law training. We've got the checklist here of who's completed the meetings, the training. And there's a link there for it, so we can get those. I tried to put it on, we're gonna get those parts. Okay, I can resend you guys all the link.
Thank you.
A couple other notes to go over for the upcoming events and calendar, the strategic plan, the next steps was the joint session with the county board on September 10th. So that's gonna be dual purpose. One is to do the joint session that is in the MOU with the county that covers. I think there's three things. It's basically the operational issues, capital improvement plans. And the strategic plan, over the three items, so we'll touch on those and then roll into the first action item on the strategic plan process with Gail on September 10th. So remember that on your calendars. If we could schedule one-on-ones to go over, just kind of updates with each of the board members, I'm available anytime, so let me know when you guys are available. And yeah, and I already hit on the public meeting law training. Going into this calendar, we've got this meeting. Next meeting is pretty open for what you know on that agenda, so if there's things that you guys have that you'd like to see on that agenda. We're gonna go through a fair debrief on what we have now, but at the next meeting, we'll have some more accurate figures on the expenses and revenues and stuff for you guys, so that'll be on there. September 10th is that joint session, October 7th is open, and then October 16th or 18th is the convention. I did provide you guys all with a copy of the agenda for the convention, and so if said if you guys are interested in going to that, let me know, and register, and we'll work on getting logging and all that stuff knocked out. I know some of you said you're interested, but we can get that stuff all knocked out so that it's in the works, but they've got a pretty good 3-day agenda put together. The 18th is just a half day. The Thursday, October 16th is they're doing it in conjunction with the International Affairs Association, so they're gonna have a lot of training and resources that the International Affairs Association has available. So we go, that'll be the Region 8 meeting in convention. And then they have the Friday. It's kind of funky on the website, we have to print off. Area meetings, keynotes, trade shows, breakout sessions, the speed meeting with vendors. So basically all of the fairgrounds will stay in one spot and vendors will rotate around and try to engage with as many people as possible. Committee meetings and then the banquet on Friday night. And Saturday, division meetings, some more breakout sessions. Again, so if you're interested in going, let me know and we'll get all of that stuff lined up. And we budgeted for all of you to be able to go. But just let us know. And it's, yeah, it's at Washington County Fairgrounds Field. It's probably as close as it's gonna be for us to be able to get to it. The next page is the events that we have scheduled. Let's just jump right into it. It's busy every weekend. Hampton was here last weekend. We've got event tonight, bunch of fishing derbies this weekend and several weddings. 4 weddings in September. And then Rob's gonna do a dinner and concert at the end of September. More weddings in quinceañeras in October. Haunted house and then Clash of the Cowboys on November 9th. And then some more shows.
Did you just say November 9th?
November 1st, sorry.
First?
I see 9, that's what it was last year, November 1st, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just busy everything. So if you have any questions on any of those events, let me know.
The knots.
Okay. From there, we can roll into the 2 policies that we've been talking about and working on. I know our focus has been heavily on the fair and rolling into the strategic plan, but more than anything, I kept this in so that we keep momentum building towards this. We hadn't had a draft of any language for this, event security. But we did have that conversation and I tried to capture, the things we discussed. A couple more things that I thought about after this. After I did this agenda was, like due dates for deposits. We have a lot of events that make a reservation 6, 8, 10 months out, and then they don't fill out their rental agreement or pay their deposits till way later. And in some cases, people do end up canceling their event, and we have them on the books for it, and we didn't rent it to somebody else because it's booked. So I think setting some kind of clear policy that once we send you the application, it needs to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days, something like that, for them to pay the deposit and do their agreement. I don't think I printed it out, but I'll send it before. I have TC.
Forfeit the deposit.
That's something we would want to put into this, and so if you guys have some input on what you think, I think if it's done so far out, that it makes sense, but if it's like the week before and or a couple weeks before, we can look to see what other facilities are doing as well.
Well, I know like the state parks thing is involved, book things way ahead of time, but I do that. And then they cancel.
Yeah.
And they have a different policy for people that book way ahead.
Yeah.
Versus like their cancellation period is actually longer, like they get hit through, like you cancel 2 months ahead of time, if you book it 6 months ahead. You lose your deposit versus if you booked it the same month and you cancel it like 2 weeks ahead of time. So just recognizing that some people just use it, it might be something, I know Washington State Park says that, I don't know for it. You present there to facilities.
Yeah, I did get a copy of what TCP's rates are, so they charge $31.50 for event security, they charge $32 for a DPSST unarmed officer, and they charge $36 for an armed officer. Depending on, what we would determine for what events need to have security or how many security people will have to have, I mean, they'll have a minimum, looks like what's a 4-hour minimum. And if, depending on the event.
So they'll allow just one person 4 hours, that's your minimum?
I think it depends on the event, and so that's something that I did put some draft language in the policy, and we wanna go over this with the security contractor as well, if I need to. Cause they're gonna wanna have the appropriate amount of staff so that their folks feel safe in putting on an event, if one person is trying to manage a 500
Yes.
person event with a bunch of people that are drinking, that's probably not acceptable, but if it's
Yeah.
something small or minor, those are the conversations we need to have about what the board wants to see as far as requirements for these groups. in getting something that we think is gonna work, and then obviously we can adjust later if we figure out things, so. Yeah, I issued a draft.
Your legal counsel for Pasco County reviewed
It
it.
hasn't reviewed this yet, this is more like just trying to capture the things that I felt like from the discussion with you all that, we were talking about, so there's lots of room for revisions on this. This is just really a first go, so that there's something that we can be editing as we move forward. Again, I know we're focused more on fair now, and it's really getting here just to kind of keep momentum going on this. So if any of you have any comments now on particular things, or if you want to send me a message with particular comments on this, after you've got a little bit more time to digest it. But trying to get it going so that we can implement this, because we're booking events out for next summer already, and if we are booking them without this policy in place, then we have that gray area that
And, you already required a deposit for the,
so since I've been here, the past practice before I started, there's only a deposit for the kitchen. So that's one of the things that I did put some draft language for something that seemed reasonable, but again, like your input. Was it 250 for small meeting rooms, 500 for the kitchen, 500 for barns and mid-sized facilities, 1,000 for the exhibit hall. And the entire.
this is outside of the security.
Yes, this would be like your refundable deposit that ensures that you're.
What's the current kitchen flat rate?
$400. Yeah,
Is that?
it is a $500 deposit for the kitchen.
Okay.
And then it's $400 to rent it, and that's for your entire event, regardless of how many days it is.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was a little confused when it was in here, because I would imagine you'd also have to have a separate security deposit, because they're gonna book out.
Right, like, when we got this information from TCB, when we first started his foreigners, he sent some links for Benton County, Polk County, Clackamas County.
Okay.
I pulled up the one from, where was it, Benton County. All of their rentals require a $300 non-refundable deposit for, when you close it. And so then that would.
I think it'd be helpful if you have that as two different documents.
Yeah, like the deposit.
Yes, yeah. Facilities deposit versus event security and the deposit with there, so I imagine that security deposit is like whatever the security company's cutoff is for cancellation. And then if they don't end up needing it, they can just get the deposit back. So they're not very. But yeah, that would help us figure that out.
We kind of have like a reference to off of, like what another fair does, and does require security in certain events, like.
There's the stuff in the links from Benton County and Polk County, says. Where is it? Let's see.
Is that already kind of what this is modeled after them?
No, this is really just based off of what our needs were.
What's that?
This is really just based off of what our needs were to address the issues with, noise complaints after Kenny and. And then also to make sure that our property is not getting damaged, because there's other stuff that happens, like the garden gets something happened to it, or. We had an issue with glass in the arena once, so keeping an eye on the property and making sure that that's stuff. But most importantly, I mean, the driving agent is compliance with the noise policies after Kenny. And then, I mean, there is a bunch of liability there with events that have alcohol and not having anybody, here monitoring the property or having people here drinking.
So we're not gonna have time to discuss this next month,
We can, yeah, we can discuss it. As I said, this will be in the agendas until we get an adopted policy.
Yeah, we gotta figure it out so that next summer it's active. The last thing I wanted was the neighbors to be more upset than they already are,
Yes. Yeah. Security requirement criteria, so, needing to have guidelines for which events require security. events with music or live bands that run past 8 p.m., events with alcohol. Events with attendance more than 100. Events with history of past non-compliance or any other event determined by the fairgrounds to pose a high risk. So that was just a first stab at what are the things that required getting some from you on which events.
Did you already send us the other links for the training?
I believe I did, but I can resend this to you.
Thank you.
Staffing and payment says, we'll arrange it. But they have to pay for it, so it'll be part of their rental. Number of guards required, that's what we'll need to determine in policy, but also to get input from the security contractor. They must be on site for the full event. I don't know if we necessarily need to have them on site for setup and tear down for every event, but definitely while the event is happening. Deposits, we touched on being a separate policy, figuring out a number that makes sense. This room costs $300 for rent. Having the same deposit for this room as the exhibit hall doesn't seem to make much sense. Noise enforcement, stop at 10 p.m. Yeah. Those are kind of the touch points on it. If you guys have input, send me a message, and then we'll discuss.
I think maybe before you said those, maybe you could split this out into two, one with the facilities deposit and then for the security line. Yeah, it's not everyone has security. Yeah, so the links, and then we should be able to provide some input before or at our next meeting.
Thing about it is we need to see what the contract requires.
Yeah.
That would be the first step, as we go come up with something and say, no, it's not gonna work, we've wasted our time.
Yes, they would be more than happy to attend the meeting and be part of this discussion.
Sorry, who's that? I didn't hear this.
So we have a 3-year contract with PCB, the folks that did the security at the fair, and when we need security for our events, that's who we use as well. The language in our rental agreement is very vague on what events require security and which ones don't. And there's just basically a checkbox that says event is required for this, or just security is required for this event. And it doesn't have much detail in it on what that means. And so there have been events where folks have brought their own security in and they'll hire whomever else, like the gun show. For obvious reasons, has their own security that they bring out for their events.
Obviously, they're gonna be biased, but maybe it'd be worth them to show up to the next meeting. Security company.
Yeah,
Like, see what is normal to be useful,
I can reach out to him and see if he can make our meeting or if there's some other kind of. I think by the time.
Are you gonna allow others like for the action of their own security?
So those are things that I'm gonna be.
Or we're gonna say on a exception basis. Based on fair. Ground and search out at the door or something like that.
That is definitely something that we need to think about how that is. There's the gun show is one example, but 2 other examples are the Crab Mine Seafood Festival and the Scandinavian Festival.
Yeah.
They have their own security as well, so there certainly should be kind of provision in there. That we can allow those types of events to use their own.
Right, and if they're interested, like to know like what the restrictions are, like, your fire, not just your brother.
And the gun show might be a little unique because I think one of their vendors in the show is their security person. But I think all of these other events, like the Crab Mine Seafood Festival, Scandinavian Festival, if we had a company that was lined up and they knew what our rules were and what
Yeah.
we wanted to see, and from what I understand, when we went through the process to solicit to hire a TCB in the first place, their prices are about as good as they are. So it might be in their best interest to just use the contract that we've already got familiar with our facility.
Yeah. And then I love future reading. Go down.
Yeah, so I know we've been very much focused on fair, but trying to keep these things going, because we have a lot of other businesses as well. Yes, good notes. The next one was our topic on the waiver to reduce fees. You know, we came up at the last meeting because we were having a group interested in donating time to get their fees reduced, and so this is the same exact thing that we had last meeting. I don't really recall clearly on the direction that we had. I know there was a lot of questions that we were gonna be thinking about, but as far as revisions to this, I can do the same thing and send it to you all, and if you have input or updates on this based somewhat on, you know about our minutes for the fair now that we've been through it. But working with service groups to do stuff, our needs during the fair and being able to provide them these way different fees based off of some clear,
So I
some clear guidelines.
think what would be, like, how much would it cost to hire a temp agency to offer a volunteer, you know, so if, for example, if we couldn't get a volunteer to do volunteers for, if we have to hire it out, it's that dollar, you know, approximately. And then instead of being on percentage basis, maybe $1 per dollar basis, you know, if it's $3,000 and 300 hours or whatever, or not $300, people make more than $10 an hour now.
Yeah, I agree, I don't know, I think we decided against percentage based after the last meeting.
You know,
Yeah, because you could have a big event, and get $300 off per hour.
It's 20 minutes off.
Yeah. And then, somewhere, well, if they do their volunteer hours and then they cancel their event, it's a generous contribution to the fair.
I do know some events require, like, some facilities require the volunteer work to be done prior to their event.
Yes, I think that's important. And if they, like I said, if they cancel their event. And the other thing I was thinking was we could talk about some reference to, you know, if they don't complete their work or did not provide the value that would be expected of a volunteer. And there may be a opportunity to make sure that the expectations are documented, and then there's like a checkoff sheet or some sort of sign off by someone at the fair staff to confirm whether they did or did not complete those expectations. And if they, you know, sat around and did nothing the whole time, it could just be documented. We're just looking for consistency, so in fairness.
I believe one of the other things we talked about was setting a cap. I don't
50%,
remember.
I thought about it, so. But that's up for discussion, of course.
Yeah. If it was per event or per year, then we would be. You know, like, if we're going to just continue to let groups go.
Oh.
Or if we say we're gonna do $20,000 worth of reduced fees or something like that.
Figure out if volunteers are not working, that's a lot. We just say within reason and means of the fairgrounds. Just generically, I mean, if they wanna volunteer the week of the fair, you're gonna be more interested in a high volume of volunteers versus. You know, something that they're gonna do in December or something.
Yeah.
And this is the same draft numbers that was brought to you guys in the July meeting, so,
So,
I-
how long the registry, maybe, but I mean, they're good.
so we have gotten them dialed in, I think it's 5 or 7 days, I have to look at the calendar exactly. I know they were doing like a Friday through a Sunday, like the Friday before through a Sunday. But we've got them dialed in so that at least the Sunday or the Saturday after they're done, so they're there for Friday, and the Saturday after is available, because we've got a lot of requests for holiday parties at that time of the year. It would work with them for getting them into that period, but they do start, like early November storing their donations on the property, they store some in here, they store some in the exhibit hall. So they start storing stuff here and then like that week before, wonder if I have it listed on this. If it's even that far out, I don't think we went to December on the events with this. I can get you that specific.
Because I did guess. Like that as a longer event. That probably, and probably much of the day, rent, things at all. How do you?
Yeah. But we've never charged them anything.
Well, I know what I was saying, is for charge for doing 50% half on volunteering, let's say it's $20,000. So I don't know exactly the number, so we're gonna ask them to potentially volunteer for $10,000 for the time, which is a ton of volunteer hours, and then still charge for 10 grand. Like that's a ton of hours.
Yeah. I wanna say we put something in here that, you know, there would be exceptions that. Would come to the fair board, like what we're looking for is a policy that can be done. Administratively for 90% of the stuff, so people don't have to wait to figure out if they're gonna be able to get there. But for a situation like that, we would ask them to come to the board.
I imagine once or something in other words, for special circumstances, when people.
Let me see. Request the call outside the scope of the policy required exceptions to the criteria may be referred to the fair board for review and determination. So there was like a clause in there that would allow other circumstances. Making a move here. Okay, yeah, I will separate those two policies and then send you guys this one again with the notes that we just talked about and just get you ready for some. Maybe we can get to where we're closer to sending this to whatever this meeting. The next one we had was going over the fair board rules during the fair. We did this time tracker, which is probably fit in the packet and there's also the copy that I gave you guys each individually. Basically just trying to, identify what the role of fair board is during it, and so that future fair boards have a good expectation of what they need to be doing. And so I think at this point, there's still some edits, because I know you guys all did more time than we actually got captured on this, and so if you guys could work on adding in the additional time that you had. Helped out with the fair, and we'll get this updated and resend that when we have more conversation on it.
You said you want to write our name on here.
Yeah, well, yeah, you at the very least get fill out, your times that you have on there.
We made a note about axe throwing, there was a note about axe throwing.
Yeah, there is a separate policy we have for accident, I know Joel's time is basically, that is probably like 12 hours each one of those days. I did get into those others, but if there were other things that you were doing for the fairgrounds that aren't inside of these categories, we have to sign up for these vendor support role, flex role, vendor activities. If there was other stuff outside of that, if you want to make notes about those things and the hours, then we can add that into the log as well.
Those were, because our goal was, right, I think I remember originally having a conversation was, what can we do to help the fair staff, you guys? And ground crew and everything like that, to make things run a little smoother.
Yeah, and capturing everything that we help with.
Yeah.
So you guys know what we need help with and
So you can plan for
how much time that should take.
Wait, yeah, thanks.
From there, we're going into the fair debrief. We have Katrina on the call, we broke this out kind of in a general overview and then kind of rolling through it day by day. But maybe if Katrina just wants to jump in and talk about the community competitions piece as a package. She did provide this slide presentation, so I printed off what you sent over, the easy print version. Yeah, if you want
Can
to
you-
take it.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. It's a little bit echoey on my end, and I typed in the box right there that at some point I heard Santa gave you guys $20,000. So congratulations on that. And if I misheard that, I apologize. Um, I did share the slides, and before I saw the agenda, I just was writing down my thoughts. I thought maybe a little background on community competitions would be helpful for some folks. And so I will go in that direction. Can you see my screen?
Not if you're presenting in the presentation. There we go.
You can't see it?
I can now, I told me to double click the screen.
I'm hearing positive tones, so I'm thinking that's a yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Very good. Okay. So Amy's here representing us there in person. Thank you, Amy, for being there. I can't see you, but sometimes the camera randomly zooms in on you. So keep that up. It's good to have you there. For community competitions, I thought it would be helpful just to give a quick background, and then I'll go into our preparation, how things carried out, and some surveys that we conducted. We did get 147 survey responses that I'm excited to share with you as well. The mission, of course, of community competitions is to showcase the creativity of our community. We are constantly updating it, getting opportunities to weave in things of interest and adding more of those live contests. Formerly, community competitions was known as Open Class, and we rebranded that in 2021 to align with Oregon State Fair's move towards clear, welcoming, and descriptive titles that invite participation from the whole community. So in my meetings with Oregon State Fair, they had talked about how some folks the language about open class was really specific to those who had been in 4-H and FFA, and by opening up those terms, the participation broadened as well. We are, of course, funded by you guys. Thank you so much for continuing a budget to support what we're up to, and then sponsors as well. And a lot of support from the fair staff. So thank you, Kristen and Kyle, for last minute print requests and supporting a lot of the initiatives from us. Here's our team here. A lot of great people that keep coming back year after year, and I'm so grateful for them as department heads. And Amy's really been my co-coordinator. At some point we'll come up with a good title for that. There's two parts to community competitions. One is the static competitions. Those are the ones that are on display all week. And those are the ones that are going to be the stagnant ones about art, baking, sewing. And then the live competitions, which you guys have seen last year and this year increasing in participation as we grow followings on that and an understanding about what the community would like to see. Individuals can stop by the fair office usually the whole month of July to pick up tags, forms, exhibitor guide to know what we are offering to compete in. And then they come by certain deadlines to turn those items in. If they're perishable, we move those closer to fair this year and made some adjustments to those intake dates and deadlines. Is this okay? Am I on track is this helpful to hear? Kyle,
Yeah.
you're the only one I see. Is this fine? Okay. All right, so just give me you're my focus. So if I'm going too far, you have to be the one. Okay. So they present those items, they're displayed. We do have judges that you guys pay for. So thank you so much that come for the static items, give feedback. Typically what we like to do, especially for those that are newer to the craft, is we have the judges give feedback on the back of those tags or in a space where we can present it to those individuals when they pick things up so they know what they did good and what they can improve on. So the goal of community competitions is really to nurture people returning each year, sharing those talents, taking risks on new talents, or sharing ideas with us about what would be engaging for their representation within our community. Partnerships have been ideal for us in making things happen and making that space during fair something that is accessible to everyone. And those partnerships include those with Job Corps, who do the daily trade-related workshops, WorkSource Oregon, and Northwest Oregon Works, who I work with, and having that career hub, and then now our car show folks. So I think I saw Wes out there, and the two young men he had working with him this year, Pablo and Adrian, I think were fantastic. And then there was a picture of the judges that we've worked with for the chili competition. So great folks, and I was grateful for their expertise. As far as the competitions go, it's progressive. So the smaller classes compete to earn first, second, and third place. All those first place people compete for champion within a certain category of those classes. All champions then compete within the department for grand champion. As far as the volunteer power and the hall experience, the volunteers put in hundreds of hours of time. I've got about 10 core members of our volunteer team, and then we all pull in our kids or other folks that we're connected to help carry out a lot of what needs to happen for setup, tear down, and then monitoring throughout the week. So I'm really grateful for that. And Amy's been amazing in helping carry out so much of that. During the week, as far as those freebies in the hall, a lot of those are donated or on loan from us as volunteers. We do have that free library each year that people can take and bring back for. The Legos are part of my collection, as well as some donations from Tongue Point Job Corps Center. The air hockey, I got myself for Mother's Day, and my family didn't love it, but it looks like it's a hit at the fairgrounds. So a lot of that space over there is just, our intention is to make it feel like a community experience and connecting with folks. As far as advertising and promotion goes, throughout the years, we have done interviews with the radio station and had ads through the radio station. We've held a lot of workshops, either at locations like the Senior Center. I've done it at Tongue Point. We've done it in town, to making things available on site there. We've hosted them there in the Annex before, and then virtual sessions as well. All right, so here's some numbers for you guys. I'm wondering if you got one that looks like this, a handout maybe, but it has our two different tables, which I'll pull up in a minute here. 2023, we had 141 exhibitors, 687 exhibits. So again, an exhibitor is the individual. The exhibit is how many things they bring to put on display during the static competitions. 2024, we went up to 213 with an increase there, and increased about 100 with exhibits. And then this year we did increase to 200, we increased to 948 exhibits, but our participation was at 174 of exhibitors. We do believe that that number is related. We had 2 teachers last year who brought in a bunch of art from classes. So individuals were entered in for that, and it increased in that exhibitor count. We did not have those teachers this year. We do hope to have them next year though. It does call attention to the fact that when we can connect with special interest groups, not just schools or classrooms, one of the teachers was from one of the local nonprofits representing the Latinx population. But when we connect with those special interest groups, we can tap into specific niche representations within our community, and then really bulk up what we're exhibiting and those that are participating, and then those that are coming to fair to see how they did. So that's an opportunity for improvement. Kyle's not giving me any kind of sign, so I'm going to keep going. What I found from those numbers, and thank you so much to 4-H for access to using ShowWorks. They gave us one of their logins to do that, and it's been an absolute treasure. Each year prior to this, we had a lot of binder work. I used Excel to try to map out and track what our participation was and what our premiums and payouts might be for them. It was a lot of work each year. So ShowWorks access has been incredible. And what that also gave me is access to look at participation in specific classes, and then information about exhibitors. So what I found is we had 106 new exhibitors this year from last, and 68 that returned from last year to this year. Those new exhibitors merely mean that they were not entered in the database in 2024. So some of them are returning from previous years, and some are actually new. So I think that information is helpful to consider. Adult heavy participation is strong for us. Typically adults with less than 5 years experience of whatever craft they're sharing. I think that's notable in regards to increasing revenue and participation. Those individuals are the ones who are going to have the money to come come to fair and anticipate what they received in the judging of their particular craft. And so I'd like to just put that out there in considering nurturing more participation in community competitions focused on those that are adults with that level of experience. I dropped my earbud. Hold on just a sec. Let's go. It's not going forward. There we go. All right. So here's that screenshot of ShowWorks. Again, super grateful for that. Here's also a guide to filling out forms. So our curtain system right now is a blend between some tags that we finally ran out of that we've had like for 100 years, I think. Some forms that we adapt to match the wording within the tags, and then the ShowWorks and how we use that. Here are those numbers I was referring to. You can see here that we were able to track with ShowWorks. We can track specifically what age group is engaging in each of the departments and at what level. This is really helpful for us because we're always looking to revise and update our exhibitor guide to reflect what people are interested in participating in. So these numbers, having 2 years of numbers there, are going to be able to give us a better reflection of what's useful to keep around and what we should be modifying. So we're grateful for that. Here we go. This year we have additional data that we were able to track in regards to live participation. So we had at least 45 people registered and participating in our live contests. And that brought us up to 219. And then the surveys that I was able to collect included questions that were also part of registration for live contests. And those surveys were at 100, the People's Choice for the chili contest had about 115 votes. So as far as data that I was able to collect and participation all around in measurable ways for community competitions, we're at 334, which is fun to think about. And I really appreciate having access to that kind of information and data. More numbers as far as the live competitions go. We were in the Daily Asturian mentioned twice, and this was adorable. I don't know how many of you guys got to see this, but this reporter here, Isabella, she was doing her internship with the Daily Asturian, so she interviewed me, and then Wes's wife, Mandy, who was one of our competition winners last year. So she wrote about that prior to fair, and then she had her day at fair here. And so I love that the Bigfoot call the Daily Asturian with that reflected there. I've got the numbers up here if you can see them as far as participation goes, but as I mentioned, we are at 45 registered participants. We did have some walk-ons that we didn't necessarily get logged in a way that I can track as much, and then 115 people casting their vote for People's Choice. As far as the debrief goes, these daily contests are fun, but require significantly more volunteer planning and coordination. Again, just a shout out to Amy for a lot of these ideas and carrying these out, and then the rest of our volunteer team who stepped up, and then Annex, who was our sponsor, who also helped with each event. If I had less data entry time, which still at the level of access we have for ShowWorks still requires quite a bit more, and less crowd control, it would give us more time to put energy towards these live contests, which I think is what I keep hearing is something that the board would like to see in more community members. More sponsorships would be nice, of course, so we can direct funding or advertise a specific prize for a specific part of our stagnant or live contests. I think that will pull more people in, and then having the chili cook-off being able to do some cooking on site or a little bit different than a bunch of crock pots plugged in as far as capacity building goes. Here's some pictures from the big day. Just adorable all around. I didn't get everything on here, but it was so much fun to do. And I am just grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this and offer those things. Coordinating the chili one is probably the hardest or biggest challenge as far as space goes, power connection goes. And then today, this last time, we had to shave off about 30 minutes from our whole process to make time and space for the barbecue. That was actually a pretty big burden for us. And it's something I would like, as we're debriefing about this, for us to consider alternatives as far as that space goes or how to coordinate that. But that was a bit more difficult. And that was part of some of the feedback I got from folks. Here's the winners here. People put a lot of love into their chili. I think anything we prepare, if we do some more food contests, it's great to see that passion and connection. As far as the serve, am I doing okay, guys?
Great.
No, now I'm just looking at Amy and Kristen, and they're lovely to look at too. I got a little Wes in there, which is good. So our survey, so we did have 147 individuals respond to the questions. They were optional, so we didn't get every single answer, for every single question I had there. But overall, those participating in a way to give us feedback, a majority of them were there to see a family or friends 4-H or FFA event. A lot of them noted as an annual experience. We had some, of course, that entered exhibits into community competitions. And the two-part to that question was, were they coming back then to see how they did? And they were saying yes. People are coming for the food. They're coming to see the animals. Some people said they only came for a competition as far as engagement goes. And then general questions about feeling connected to the community, were a part of that, or a vendor. So I think some of this feedback is helpful. And I liked it as a way to hear voices from those that were interacting with specifically to community competitions, which is, of course, a little bit more narrow than what you guys might be experiencing when you're out there.
Hey Katrina, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
I love that survey so stinking much. Do you have any other comments or anything like that that you had available? And do you have those to share by chance? Not
Next slide.
obviously if you
Look at
have,
you. It's like
look
right
at
there,
me
ready. Look at all
just,
those. Look at
it's like
you. It's
we've
like we're,
worked before together.
I know, right? So we'll get to those. Thank you. And I can send all that data to you guys if I haven't already.
Ooh, I would
But
love
yes,
it.
yeah, I left a lot of comment space for people to put things in, which again can go any direction, but it's there. So you'll get that for sure. I think, again, the opportunities here for growth for community competitions is leveraging our 4-H and FFA audiences to cross promote our programs. And then, like, the parents and the family and the siblings. What we saw more and more were people who were like seeing one participant in 4-H being able to do the flower arranging, and then they really wanted to do it. So then the mama did, and then a younger sibling was able to participate in flower arranging. So that's an opportunity for us to continue to build off of for sure. And then alumni, those of us who did 4-H for most of our lives, coming back again and being a part of that fair energy, I think is what I've seen that nostalgia play a part in some of that participation. And I'd love to kind of feed into that a little bit more. And really, we talk about like connecting with schools, which is good, but honestly, I see this as a platform for adults. I see this as a platform from adult of various ages, or target areas within our community that have a voice, and we can give them a platform for that and expressing in their talents and their art. So schools, yes, but that's churches and those other communities are going to be an opportunity for us for sure. So I said that part there. I got that covered. All right. So now I'll go to the quotes, Mallory. Here we go. So just a general question about have they participated in community competitions before. 73% said no. So we were opening the door to all those people by saying that, by putting our brand of community competitions out there. I love that folks replied to that and now know we're up to that, and that's what we're doing. So survey quotes that we've got here is everything is fun, more vendors would be good. Great lineup of fun activities. I'm 9 years old and my mom loves flowers, so do I now. And that was for a registration for the flower arranging. Another one talked about doing baking buddies in the past, and 4-H being a part of something they're involved in, but they're also looking at that flower arrangement for themselves. Thanks for your hard work and bringing fair to our community. So that's for all of us, of course, not just our community competitions folks. People asking for some more advertising. They didn't know about things. Again, we did some radio stuff. We've done a couple of other things, but always getting the support from the board and those of us that are active is helpful. People talked about how fun it was, how organized it was, and that their son ate chili for the first time. So as you go through here, there's a lot of quotes, but I didn't grab everything. So there's more to reflect as a board member and see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else there that stands out. People are enjoying the process. They love to interact and feel connected, and this is a way that they do that. So. All right, so I'm close to the end of this one. Challenges and opportunities. It takes a lot of creativity, coordination, and constant improvement on our part. Having a team of folks and people like Amy who are just amazing to work with. We put our heart into it. We're excited to see it grow. We welcome feedback from folks. We welcome the grace that people have been giving us in regards to when we're feeling pretty burnt out on these really long days. But it comes from a place of really investment and love for our community. There's definitely opportunities to increase sponsorships. I would love to get more support in regards to having a higher level of access to ShowWorks so that we can have some online registration from folks. So I'm doing less basic data correction kind of stuff. That would be helpful. Safeguarding the hall during judging and setup. So that tends to be a little bit confusing for folks because their schedule is a little different than 4-H. Promotion, so again, wherever we can tap into some of those shared interest groups. The bulk entries, like those 2 teachers who submitted work, I'd love to explore that some more, especially hand in hand with ShowWorks and maybe some online registration. And then those live contests, looking to time those for participation because there were some people who mentioned if the timing was a little different, they could participate. And if we're going to increase and have more live contests, the capacity and resources on my team, we need to look at that to make sure it's doable. All right, there's fairly emotional. I always love those printed photo strips that we get to do. So here's some glamour shots our team took. And I want to give a shout out to all of these folks here on the right side, from our sponsors, our judges, to Kyle and Kristen. Thank you, Elise, very much for your support as a liaison. And then to those that participated in the chili contest, and then our 4-H folks. A lot of families, Tongue Point, Northwest Oregon Works, who's my employer, WorkSource, and then Wes and the Car Show team. There you go.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm gonna add something for next year for you. I think you need to add a live mullet contest.
Oh my God, we talked about that. I think that wasn't it, Kristen? I think we brainstormed that. Your boys would kill it. I know. Okay, sorry. Other questions or information I should share?
Anybody have anything else for Katrina?
Say that again, sir.
I was just asking if they had anything else for you. It doesn't look like it.
He doesn't see the ears, I don't know, like, you may bounce off. I don't know, you said anything else for you, did anybody else have anything else for you, and thank you very much.
Oh, good. Thank you. And I might get off the call here soon, but I'll just step back a little bit. And if anything comes up, I'll see how I can troubleshoot. But Amy, was there anything else you wanted to contribute?
It's from the help we got, some of our just coming through. I'm Christine Royce, very good help, and yeah, police for such a guidance for our big side. And helping her run around programs, that was awesome. Lots of very help this year.
I'll go back to the other screen. I don't know how to think this. All we see is you. You, speaker, gallery, everyone.
What do I do? Are you telling me that all you see is me? Do I turn off my video?
There, I got us back into it. Okay. Yeah, not exactly sure what direction you guys would like to see the rest of this conversation go. What we were able to work on was this handout of Fairfax. You know, a lot of the information we have is still really preliminary, like we're still receiving invoices and processing payments and getting actual numbers on some of the expenses versus, you know, what they actually provided, was what we were, what our estimates were. What I do have in here is the daily gates that, you know, I provided you guys each night during the fair. What we haven't had time to get together yet is like a comprehensive report of, you know, what that translated into scans on wristbands and total attendance numbers. There's some other factors also to consider, like the 4-H and FFA participants and the car show participants and people with season passes that came in each day. So there's some additional analysis that we still have to do, but we have been deep in cleanup mode and getting ready for the other events that have been piled up right on top of it. So, we can flip through this, it's got, again, a lot of preliminary information, and expect by our September meeting, we'll have some more concrete numbers to you guys about expenses and revenues. But my general sense is that our attendance was up from last year, what I don't know is if it's up for the 4 days versus the 5 days, but I have a sense that it was close, if not more than last year, for only being 4 days instead of 5 days. Yeah, so this is broken out by day on Friday. We did plug in the concert numbers, so we had 1424 in general admission, 257 front stage, 472 in the VIP, and then 113 comps, which those went to volunteers, people that helped us set up the concert. I think everybody that volunteered through Anthony got a comp ticket, and then the bands also get so many comp tickets. They don't typically get all of the ones that are in their contract. It usually says like 50 each, but they usually only pull out 5 or 10 a piece, depending on how many people they have in the area. Vendors, this is just kind of the timeline on how we deal with the vendors. When we advertised it on January 10th, to returning vendors on January 31st, to all vendors. We had a deadline in July 1st. Public health had to have all of their information in for the food vendors by July 18th. We had to have all of their insurance documents and everything from them by the 22nd, and then they set up on the 29th. Summary of your fees, we had the $200 for a food vendor, that's like a deposit. They give us 15% of their gross sales, and that $200 comes off of that amount. If they were larger than the 15 by 20, they paid an additional $1 for square foot, trying to keep them into a similar size, so each vendor has a similar size, and not one vendor taking up the space of 3 or 4 vendors. Indoor booths, 250 or 300, depending on if they were corner. Outdoor booths, 200 or 250, depending on if they were inline or corner. And then we added the nonprofit informational booth for $50. They only had an inline option. And the key requirement for that was that they couldn't be selling anything. It was just informational. So we did have more vendors than we've had in the last several years. And hopefully that continues to grow. Our gross receipts are listed here for the last 5 years. Let's see, 185,000 is what we received this year from vendors. Last year we were 167,000. So our vendors' sales were up, which is an indicator of more attendance, right? Looking back 22 and 21, we don't have the data for the shipping goods, so those numbers get lower than they actually are, but you can see we've been building the last 3 years on our vendor sales. Below was a list of all of the approved vendors. Rainey's Concessions had 2 booths that canceled on the 21st of July, and then Couple Kettles canceled on the 28th of July, so we were down 2, but I think the food court was still pretty full. Yeah. The next is all of our retail booths, and we had the 1 cancellation from Geno's. They canceled on the 28th. They had a 5th gen booth, and then we had another booth cancel on the 28th. It was outdoor. They had like clothing and stuff like that they were gonna sell. Wild Roots was gonna have 2 booths, but they ended up with 1, and then Yang, when he showed up, he said, I have 2 booths, he said, oh, you have 1, and I pulled his application, and but with those other cancellations, we ended up having space for them, and we're able to fit them in there. Yeah, we were up, we had 34, but what do we have? Yeah, I don't think we had any booths last week. 12 and 34, so we had 46 booths this year, and last year we had 25. So we had significantly more vendors this year than we had last year. In the sponsorships, we had Pacific Power, do Blue Ribbon sponsorship, Annex gave us $1,000 towards the community competitions, which helped us with that tent and setting up that area. Gordy Electric donated towards the rest of the rodeo, TLC donated towards the kids' activities we had, and then Park Avenue Spirits was an alcohol sponsorship. For a total of $8,500 sponsorship. It was not associated with the concert. And then for the concert, we had 68,250 in sponsorship, which translated to the tickets that, you know, the attendance that we talked about earlier. Out of the, what was on Friday? The 472, 43 of those tickets were the ones that we, you know, the surplus capacity that we had that we put up for sale with the general public for visitors. Merchandise, Rodney Atkins sold 7,890 in shirts, and we ended up with 1,500 of that. Thomas Mack sold $695 total. We got $131 from him. Jackie Rohr did not sell any merchandise, and then the Cruz Brothers sold $740 in looking there, and we got $148 off of that.
This is pretty good considering the number is very different from each party.
Yes, it was. Exhibitor camping, so that's the 4-H and FFA. The timelines on that, they went live on April 1st. The deadline was July 11th. And then the packets were ready for them on the 21st. We had 72 exhibitor campers down there this year. We had 70 the year prior. Forms. Numbers of campers, 412 campers this year. Last year was 358. Another big statistics, there was 100 additional vehicles, so they get a vehicle with their camping, and then you get up to 3 additional vehicles, 2 additional vehicles. You don't remember, but we had 79 additional vehicles last year, so 21 more vehicles down there. I think it was getting pretty tight. There might be something we want to talk about, the number of additional vehicles.
You charge for additional vehicles?
Yeah, it's $15, and you know, the parking's free on the rest of the fairgrounds, so, it's something to have a conversation about when we talk about camping for next year is. If that works for everybody, again, we can put some folks on, we need to reduce the number of additional vehicles, because I think they've ended up getting pretty bad numbers, but I don't know. I'd be curious to hear other people's experiences, I don't know. Again, you know, this is all really preliminary information, we'll get you guys the all of the expenses, you know. From our contractors, entertainment, marketing, premiums for materials, and then we'll have all our revenue from the vendors, gates, food, alcohol, tickets, sponsorships, camping. Merchandise for you guys in the report, it's kind of a probably lost balance sheet for you at the next meeting.
Is it $15 for the whole series? Or
Yes.
just off?
Yeah. It's not per day.
That might help.
Yeah. So from there, you know, the rest of this agenda item I had kind of broken out in like a pre-fair setup through each day.
Before we go into that, I don't see, it doesn't look like you have a lot on the regular fair board agenda.
There is not.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing we have in our agenda is really public comment and the financial.
Okay. So on these items here, these are just the discussion points or gathering information or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this is the, you know, we'll bring you guys the, you know, the income and expenses, but this is really the opportunity for the board to talk about the fair while it's still fresh. And so kind of trying to get a guideline for talking about, having conversations about particular parts of the fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody has ideas and thoughts too, for us to talk about, it would be great. I think it's also would be helpful if like by category, if you have stuff to share, you can forward it to Kyle as well, have a write-up about it, so that, we can capture it when we plan for next year.
You're talking like the categories, like our committees,
Well, no, where you had the vendor close, and the
I didn't hear you say what.
So like, what number, oh, I see, with that. My bad. I would just say it'd be helpful for us when if we have a lot of detail feedback for, that we provided it in writing to the town person, as well as that, or that way it's easier to gather that. Sorry, I wasn't there last week.
okay. Yeah, I mean, just talking pre-fair setup, Saturday through Monday, you know, I think things went relatively smooth, you know, even back with pen setup, we got that laid out in a way that I think everybody was really comfortable with, and stuff was where it needed to be. We need to definitely work on, blocking off the areas in advance so that we can get the fair laid out on Monday and Tuesday of the fair. Getting the vendor booths and all of that stuff's laid out. I think as Katrina was alluding to, that Tuesday with the community competition side, with all of the other activities happening, we can get the general public out of that space so that they can do their setup, but also knowing that the space has to be open because vendors are moving into those locations as well. So it's gotta be open so the vendors can set up, but they also need to be able to not be roam through their area. I don't know if anybody else has any general
I would,
observations.
well, in addition to walking off, whether Monday or whatever day you block out for the layout. Blocking off parking, not allowing parking, for instance, Civil War, we had to track people down, get out of the Civil War area. So people being clear where there is or is not allowed, non-vendor vehicles on the fairgrounds. And then, for community competitions, I think we talked about it, there's the whole drop off and parking, it was all related to the parking lot being occupied. But it would be great if we could figure out like a loop, because everybody was really struggling to figure out where they go for the community competitions, drop off. And you know, how to get out, and vendors driving around with trailers and things like that. It feels like there could be some different. Less challenging.
Yeah.
Or like a loop, right? There's just like, come on, drop off, go. There's definitely a confusion there. And then from a support perspective, a lot more board member and type of support would be really helpful that day. That was a heavy day for you guys, I know, and just there's been some relief so she can leave her desk and.
So I have a suggestion on that part because I don't necessarily think it was an issue with board member help. I think there's a lot of board members helping. I think that we need to hire a temp to help Kristen a couple days before and the week of.
Portions.
I think, I think definitely, Kristen and the team can use help. I always like to encourage, we're gonna come up with solutioning, and we encourage that we work with the individuals that are impacted, so we maybe have a conversation, as far as fair planning for next year. As you digest all of that, right, because there's a lot you have going on, you have a lot of people that can help you. But also like how do we make sure that you're not training somebody on the fly or the full-time vendor the busiest? So that's where I was encouraged that we have, probably not today, but have that conversation with the two of you to say, okay, where is the biggest need and what are some strategies to address it?
Yeah, we've had some conversations about this. It's, you know, it's definitely seems like I mean, having a volunteer that's gonna be committed for a month is probably something that's not realistic.
Yeah.
But a seasonal type of person, not necessarily a temp from a temp agency, but somebody that's hired as a seasonal, that's here well enough in advance of the fair that they are actually capable and qualified to be able to provide that support, because they have to know a lot of the inner workings of the things in order to be helpful. The other thing was an information booth, like, and that's something that maybe is more of a volunteer driven type of thing, or a board driven thing, that 70% of the interruptions or folks that are coming and needing stuff from us are able to be headed off by having an information booth where where can I buy concert tickets, or where do I get wristbands, or where can I buy this, or where do I go? And I think that would be a big part to have, but they're basically high sorting out the stuff, and then when there's a question or something that comes up, then that person's contacting the office, they're getting support to help those people instead of just 8 people lined up in our office. That's not really ideal for being able to provide customer service. It's not like there's a counter that you can have people up and you're going in the dressing room. It's like, oh, you get them in the door and then 8 more people funnel in, and you've got all those people in the office, and they're basically in your office space at that point, and not just at the counter in line being developed as a person basis. Yeah.
No, we do a Dutch story. Put a Dutch story, or just have a front panel.
Yeah.
And put office hours on there. Or some, so, you know, so you have 9, you can do the work inside. That way they're not in there, because I know a lot of times when I was sitting out front, they just walk right by me.
Yeah.
It's,
I sat on the steps for a while.
I would say walking around this big help, I got asked some questions. And it was still in the line, it's like, oh, yes, you know, so.
Well, I think, yeah.
Thank you for making those, because it really helped a lot. There's a lot of people that ask me.
Yeah, a large chunk of it, especially the Monday through Thursday, is people that want another wristband to get into the campground. They register, they had their group. And then now that the fair started, they realized that their friends can't get into their campsite, and so they're like, we need to add 4 people to. And it's every one of those 400 campers is coming in and asking for additional camping vans. So getting that piece under control about.
It's probably a behavioral change as well.
If that was sorted out in advance of the fair when we were doing our camping packets, it's easy, but as they're coming in during those 4 days when we're trying to set up the fair and get everything rolling, it's a big challenge. And maybe that's something we want to revisit about on how the access to the campground is covered. It's been 3 years now that they've had to have a wristband to get into that. If that's working well, or if there's another way to try to manage that.
So the end,
And I just encourage you guys to start, finish our meeting, it's not hard to get right there.
so like, is that something we could do, is that someone's supposed to get a single worker? To be, whether it be 1 week before, 2 weeks before fair, and during fair to share someone, but I mean, just like when I was looking at you, there's so much stuff that,
Yeah.
like, it's more stuff than for one person.
It's aligned in our budget, so if we determine what dollar amount we want to put into that, we can do it. The other side of that challenge though is actually finding a candidate that's going to apply for such a short-term position. This year we were fortunate and we found 2 really amazing seasonals for the maintenance side, but that's been the exception in my experience so far.
It would be,
Maybe that's
it would be
something term sheet.
So something that would be interesting too, in putting it out maybe a little bit beforehand, is there are like business leaders of tomorrow classes for the high schools, and that could be a really big like business type of opportunity for their resume. In a senior in high school or something like that, that's heading off to college, or a junior, whatever. That might be kind of a direction to go.
Or maybe even somebody that's in college that's on summer break, but yeah, I think. Trying to find somebody that is gonna be able to be effective and not just be somebody else that needs to be supported. So I think it's worth giving it a shot, and we need to come up with a great job description and figure out what that pay is and get it out there, and if we can be working on that. like, yeah, in January when they're still in school, they still have plenty of time.
Yeah, I think also recognizing only somebody in information group, what can we do ahead of time to have those, you know, here's the problem, here's some solutions kind of thing, and when it needs to be escalated. Right, so,
Like a-
they're not learning what to apply.
Like a flow chart or something for them, it's like. Yeah,
And then we'll have board members stop by and ask some tough questions, because we know what the questions are, have a good practice day.
I would know that last year we did have a seasonal that we had hired and her role was in the office, but it was tough because she really didn't know how to address the people and the things.
Right, and some of the, yeah, a lot of people are a little aggressive.
Is this a part, can I make a comment or is that inappropriate right now?
Actually, no, not right now, we're just having a conversation with the board.
I would actually like to hear what she has to say.
I promise I'll pick, I think the untapped population for the position that you're talking about is going to be those of us that have been longtime volunteers. Those have been part of 4-H or former staff members from your department already. Those are some great people that I think would love to pick up the extra income, maybe have other schedules in place. But as far as knowledge of routines and some of that really low level stuff, a lot of us can answer those questions. Okay.
Thank you.
That was day one.
Yeah, yeah. Vendor setup, vendor operations, entertainment, marketing efforts, sponsored with, you know, I think we had a lot more vendors, but a lot of the stuff just with the circumstances of new fair board, other business that the fairgrounds is working on. We were behind leading up into the fair. So I think one of the main goals that we have, especially now that everybody's been through this, one go around is trying to get as much of that stuff addressed early on, so that in that 6 weeks prior to the fair, we're working on marketing and we're working on vendor setups. We're not working on still, you know, hiring contractors and booking entertainment and stuff like that. And then we've got all of the marketing and signage and advertising and all of that stuff built 6-8 months in advance, so that when we're going into the 6 weeks, 4 weeks prior to the fair, we're just scheduling. They're popping up. I think that we had one person here for security on Tuesday. I think maybe increasing that by a person, maybe somebody's on the gate down below to make sure that really only vendors or retainers are coming into the gate, and people that aren't vendors and here for setup aren't coming in and out of the.
That's right, around the sign.
And, you know, maybe it's a security person that's really focused on the exhibit hall and making sure that, you know, that space is available for the setup that is happening. With the community competitions and really the 4-H and all that stuff that's happening still on those days. Fair days. You know, just kind of looking through Wednesday through
On
Saturday.
the setup day was the day we had all the, janitorial issues.
Yeah, so they showed up late on Monday. Came to us and said that they felt like the guests at the fair weren't treating them well and got the sense that they weren't coming back. Then they didn't come back at all on Tuesday, and we were able to hire temps to come in for half a day on Tuesday. We got one person in there. And then the group did show up with the janitorial company provided a different team that showed up on Wednesday, and they were actually pretty effective. And so, yeah, that was a challenge on Tuesday. So I think having the janitorial company is a good concept. We need to work on that better, maybe do a more robust RFP. And make it clear that we're looking for somebody that's doing this turnkey. They don't need us to be doing anything to support them, really, besides getting them more materials or all the stuff with carts. And maybe it's more we hire somebody that's the janitorial supervisor, and then we hire the temps. They come in and they're managing those temps, because it seemed like the people that they had hired were temps. I'm not sure if that's the case or not.
There was need for supervision of encouraging them to.
Yeah. and having them actually show up, so.
Yes.
And
And that's right.
once they came in on Wednesday, and again, I don't know about that guy's experience on Monday, but, he felt like people were rude to him and he chose not to come back.
Did we ever clarify who he thought was being rude to him? Was it staff? Was it board? Was it
He
4-H
said it
families?
said it was children and their parents. And I told him, I apologized to him repeatedly about it and let him know that, if that happens again, to let me know and we'll address that issue specifically, but at that point, they left and didn't come back. But then I would say that once on Wednesday, we got all that sorted out, I think they did a pretty good job of keeping up on it. There were things that we had to remind them on and,
I think one, but half of the team was really good and the other one was.
carrying extra weight.
They're not.
Definitely having like a free fair meeting with them, not having them start basically at the fair, having at least their lead or supervisor come in and we give them the full orientation and training. And then they're training the people, if they have different staff members coming in on from day to day.
Yeah, I mean, the one that we had to
Is
close
there
women's restroom to get her trained on how to do the unlocking and things like that, so it was, that was a big deal, I was like, aren't crazy. So, yeah, we're bringing somebody that didn't really know. So, yeah, but like the other guy, he was great.
what are our thoughts? What are our thoughts on? I know we have like contracts for like the drink company and stuff like that. That's something that we could do is hire out some sort of company like that throughout the year for different events, or is it, um,
I guess I'm not understanding your question. You're saying to have a contract with a janitorial company to do
can we,
clean
correct,
up your
to
private
do
event?
events?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Um,
in there.
I, yeah, I don't know. It might just be, it might not be a bad idea to get with someone so that, who are we going to have for the rodeo, that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I think if maybe that's more what our RFP looks like, is that it's somebody that's available for year round, and then anytime we need something, we can call them in. For
Yeah,
private events, they're required to do the cleanup, and that would be a big function of having the sufficient deposit to make sure that they're actually cleaning up after themselves after their events.
correct.
The three events we do each year is on our staff to do.
And the other thing we need to do is making sure next year that the janitorial service company is there before everything starts.
Yeah, we had them in on Monday. One of
I
the
meant,
challenges that,
I just meant in the morning.
in the morning, earlier in the morning, yeah, they were supposed to start by 8 o'clock every day, and they didn't go till 10 each day.
Okay.
So yeah, they were meant to be there earlier. I know one of the challenges that we had when I was looking for janitorial companies was basically nobody was taking on new clients. They all basically had their clientele, and they're either scaling down their business or didn't have the number of employees, but we could reach out further. We could even talk with other fairs and event centers on if they have some leads on service contractors. But the goal is to find someone local. That would be the first choice.
Have we ever put out like an RFP like we have with the other things?
No, I just basically got on the phone book and called like 5 companies. They were based out of Clatsop County, and, with the company that we got was really the only one that was willing to take on them. But I think doing a more formal solicitation for that, for like year-round use in a long-term contract, so we have them, committed for 3 to 5 years, is definitely ideal.
So getting at the 6:30, when we use that full time, so we can forget the time we're ready for meetings or anything else like quickly wanna call out.
So I think the concert production went really well. We got everything set up very quickly and organized. I think really all of the fair setup went really well. It was, early evening on Wednesday where we were to the point where it was like, we can start working on laying out some of the concert stuff, where the prior years, it was more like Thursday by noon. It's like we really had the capacity to start moving into setting up for the concert. I think having the janitorial people working on that helped. I think having quality seasonal staff here has helped us get ahead on that as well. But that went really smooth, I felt like, and we got more people involved with the setup that have an idea of what it's done, where the past it was like, you had a couple of people that really knew what needed to be done and where they needed to go. And so now the team here between Andrew and myself, and we're ready to be ready for the contractors when we show up and start getting this going. Another thing that was really ideal this year was when Cascade Sound came in. They came in with a new truck that had a drop gate on it. Where in the past they came in with like a van with a ramp, and then they came in with a second trailer with a ramp, and so all that stuff had to be ramped off and then ramped up onto the stage. This year they were able to just back right up, drop the ramp and everything right onto the stage right away, so that was really convenient for us. I think the attendance went really well. I think some of the stuff to work on with our admissions is getting the technology set up more advanced. We were going out there to get set up 20 or 30 minutes before the gates opened, and I think we need to have them scheduled to come out like an hour in advance, so get the steps there and all of that's sorted through and they're ready to go when the gates open. As far as incidences, with the one incident with the people mover was the only thing we had. I was able to get in touch with the lady that was on, two ladies that were on the people mover. She's gonna fill out an incident report, but what it came down to is she ended up not going to the hospital, and that was the thing, we didn't even know if who the person was or if they went to the hospital or not. But I think getting, some more formal guidance for the people who were in the volunteers about reporting incidents to us and being able to go down there and respond to, like, if there's somebody gets bumped, if there's an issue with the equipment and anything happens at all with the public, then we should be informed right away, so we can do something. Figure out who's involved, people are. Because we got fortunate enough that one of the ladies called, who was just on it and said that she was, was frightened for her. But she knew who the lady was that actually got thrown out. And so when I talked to her, she said the gal that bumped her knee, she was the only person that was facing forward, and everybody else on the tractor was facing back. And so when it came done, they all went back in their seats. But since she was on the other side, she came out of her seat. So we're fortunate that she was the only one on there. But I've talked with her. She's going to do an incident report, and we're gonna stay in touch if she has any other concerns or questions. Besides that one incident, I mean, the only other stuff we had was just a little minor first aid stuff, like, kidneys needing types of things, so I think we did pretty good on that. And then, I think all the events and the entertainment went well. I heard a lot of positive things about the balloon guy. People really love the balloon guy. I heard a lot of questions about where Pettingsley was. I think this area up here, I think the chainsaw carving was amazing. I think all of the stuff that Joel had going up here with the axe throwing and pelicans was amazing. Once we got people to start coming up here and participate, it was pretty good. I don't know if there's any thoughts about what we want to do for that. for future years, but, we're trying to get.
Sure, doing like a scavenger hunt to get people to go walk around the whole fairgrounds.
Yeah, see what I did. I think maybe doing a roundtable early on, to start talking about our fair planning for next year and what type of entertainment. We wanna do a logging piece, we wanna do the axe throwing piece, fun busting. Getting those main components booked early.
Maybe you're like up for a weekend.
Not for that, just for there.
Yeah.
And I think I've made contacts where most of that can run itself. I mean, some might be a little bit supervised, but it's not gonna be like 4 hours a day, you know, there.
Yeah. I did reach out to Romeo and said, you know, that they're still deep in their route with all of their concerts, but the sooner the later that we can. Get some list of avails for next year's concert will be good. And then, yeah, I think early planning, I don't know if it's a mid-September meeting that you guys wanna have, we're starting to kick off ideas for next year. To start hammering out ideas moving forward. Say post fair, I think the cleanup clinic is going well. All the vendors mostly got checked out by Sunday. We had a few, the retail vendors that left quite a mess, they just basically cut all their zip ties and left all the trash on the ground. Some of the retail vendors. What else? I mean, loading the animals out the next day, I mean, I'm not sure, I haven't heard much on that side about how that went, but. By the time I got in here about 8 o'clock on Sunday morning, it was all done already.
I heard loadout was pretty smooth and families were able to get in there before noon to get the rest of their stuff and get everything done. So I think that went really well.
No. And I mean, as you guys can tell from being here, we're still chipping away on cleanup. You know, we really tried to primarily focus on the front side with the exhibit hall and the front parking lot because we had events coming in last weekend. So we got all that up and done, and now we're slowly working our way backwards, getting everything else cleaned up, taking the bleachers back. We gotta tear down the tents. Yeah, we're getting pretty close. We should be about done this week.
I think I missed the conversation with the concert, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the Coast Guard guys that came out and helped. They were, I think, a huge help trying to get that all set up before and after.
Yeah, yeah, that is definitely a good point. They did a fantastic job, and that could be another really good component of why things did go so smooth. We were relying on temps in the past and getting them here on time, and one of the unfortunate kind of issues with being a stagehand is you show up and you're waiting around for something to do, and then now they're ready for you to do it, and so there is some hurry up and wait, and when you have the temps, they would wander off and you weren't right on them, so then you're having to track them down and get them back and get them on task, and having those Coast Guard guys around, they were there, ready to go, organized, and really good work with, we do really appreciate their help. I mean, that's kind of the outline I had. I don't know if there's other, if you wanna get input from other groups. Or if you want.
Well, I think, like you said, it might be helpful if people could send a debrief of like, if you have specific items that went well or would recommend, you know, handling differently. I think we all had our own different experiences. Anybody has anything else to share? Then wrap up this portion of the meeting.
I want to give just another shout out to, oh my gosh, Abby was running around with garbage bags with a baby on her front, and I just, that was, you're impressive, lady. Great job.
Good job, Aaron.
Great. Well, I know we have the West with the car show, and we've got Brooke with 4-H here. I don't know if you want to have any input from them on their part of the fair. if you wanna go into the meeting and have that be part of public comment.
Yeah, no, think about public comment, that would probably get started on another regular meeting. Valerie, are you coming in or we're just remote?
I'm just getting on Lewis and Clark Road, so I don't know that there's a point for me to drive out there at this point.
Okay. All right, so we're ready to start the regular meeting.
Can I use direct from the?
Oh, yeah.
Is it open, this one right here?
It's always open, yeah.
Okay, can I go to that one?
Yeah, and you can see that. Door for remote.
Excellent. You know,
We don't have it in any meeting. Do we not have meeting notes?
No, like when I sent you guys this packet with the fair going on, we didn't get it. We'll provide you guys a packet with a lot of minutes.
They're already. Well, that having this is funny, as soon as you put the line, so it was like, hey, I know, I said that because I said it, and I was like, da. Like, something that's really good. He was taking her on everything, and he was talking, and I was like, really, I don't know, like, I was like, flag thing, you know, I'm like, yeah, it's not fun.
Hey, Kyle, if you're going to start the meeting, can you unmute? Thank you.
All right, so, roll call, everyone is here, Mallory is remote. So we have a very short agenda, it's another day. We first want to have agenda approval. Anybody have a? This, where? I didn't miss it.
no,
I don't see which one. Sorry, either, so we're. Yeah, it's a page, so there's a page, it's a page for it. It's a list, all I have is.
I approve of that one list.
And I did is consent calendar, the board member reports, manager report, business agenda, finance report, go to the order.
Okay.
Okay, we have a second? Second. Okay. All right, for public comment, at this time, anyone wishing to address the fair board concerning items of interest on or off the agenda may do so. The person addressing the fair board will, when recognized, give their name and address for the record. All remarks will be addressed to the whole board and will be limited to 3 minutes. Fair board members reserve the right to delay any action if required until such a time as they are fully informed and the matter is scheduled as an agenda item. Do we have anyone with public comments?
I know this. I haven't seen one else in the Okay. My name is Teresa, I'm the 4-H program coordinator, and I live 6 North Franklin Street, Seaside, Oregon. So I just wanted to give you guys what happened on the 4-H side. They were great. We had 2,770 entries, and we had 1,112 of those were livestock. And then we had 65 dog entries, and then we had 1,075 were hall entries. And then 98 student sports, so that's including our regular shoot, which was a little bit earlier, and archery, and then we had 280 overbutt entries, and then 115 judging contests. We had 384 exhibitors that came to the fair and participated in all the awesome things that they can do at 4-H. A huge takeout was we had more archery than we ever have, and that was really exciting. I think for us in the program, we have archery clubs almost in every different area in Placer County, so that was just cool to see. And we were definitely outgrowing that space, so a big note for next year, I think, is just moving a little bit to the more to the left by 30 feet or something for those kids. So that the dogs aren't disrupted a little bit more. So that was just kind of something we had really noticed because we just have so many more people coming to watch. And then our vet checks, that was on Sunday and Monday, that went amazing. A big thing for us is making sure that all the animals are healthy and taken care of during fair by the exhibitor as well as the supers and also the veterinary staff that helps, which is Dr. Ramsey, and just having that come through was really successful, really smooth. And I think it really just eliminated a lot of problems for us regarding livestock animals. And then also we had, for checkout, I think with the auction time shifting back a bit and from kind of our perspective, it was great because it kind of wrapped up around like 9:30. If people wanted to take their animal home, they could right after. So it was pretty good timing with that. And on Sunday, it went pretty smooth. We had a pancake feed. The kids kind of talked about everything that went well that week. And I feel like a lot of the kids were telling me about all those things. I don't know if you guys saw David Harris, this young, he was like this tall, and he had this pin, he took it into the show ring, and it was just like warmed my heart. You have no idea. If you were there seeing the big show, and it was just, and he got reserve grand champion, and that kid was definitely bigger than him by a long shot. So, but yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys we're super thankful extension to my fair, and I just appreciate you all for working with Kyle, Kristen, community competitions, Katrina, and Amy, all of our staff in the extension office, the 4-H Association, the Livestock Association. I think people were really generally happy from our perspective. I know you guys probably get a ton of the blind. I saw you all running around like crazy with your little wing badges at times. But I think for people I've talked to, they were very happy and had a great experience. So that's my comments.
Thank you.
I just want to give Brooke kudos also because it was her first fair. I think she also did it in time. And she's never done it there. Go ahead, Wes.
West Fulton, 1769, Southeast side of Astoria, car show. I think everybody went well this year, attendance was up some. I had sponsors this year to help me pay for the cars that we gave to the kids, we bought about 150 of them. And I think we gave out close to 70, 75 of them, somewhere in there. I got great feedback from the with the kids about the kind of derby cars. The table seems to be active all the time in the workshop. The two boys that worked with me from the high school, their mentor for their senior projects were amazing. I mean, I couldn't ask them to do a better job. They were there early. They stayed with us the whole time. They did everything they asked and asked if they could do more. It was incredible. So I'm really thankful for them. Hope I can get something like that again next year. I think more kids might be involved for the senior project after get the feedback, and I'm hooked up with the teacher now as well, who starts the senior project programs. We raised $1,463 for the Astoria Middle School Careers Program. And then I got another $60 contribution that I gotta get to the fund, so $1,523 is what we raised. Last year, we gave 1,700, and I can't remember the figure, 1,700 change. That was 2 years worth of proceeds, so I think it went pretty well. The Pinewood Derby race, well, we needed a little work on a little bit of organization, because I tried to make a double elimination thing, and then I had all the little kids running around me, never putting a car on the track. After a while, the final show, we just thought this fun show, but we had winners. The beach parents donated their some trophies for it, and the kids just loved it. And they did a good job on the trophies too, and they donated the use of the track as well. So all in all, I think it went really well. Next year, if I say what do I need to work on, and that's organization of the race, to get the kids kind of lined up, because it was a little bit of a free for all. Other than that, it went really well.
John, you have a sense on like head count attendance that came in for the car show?
We had over 50.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say over 60.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And the boys were great, they accomplished a lot.
They were spectacular. Those kids are gonna go a long ways. And they'll go with me to distribute the money as well to the career program. So that'll be in the end of what commitment they do with me. So they were required to do 20 hours of community service. And they had to keep their charity, you know, kind of thing. I think they did well over 25 hours. So they were always urgent. They were just, what else can we do? Very impressive.
Thank you for doing that.
My name is Lori Temple, 35079 Jefferson Lane, Astoria. I want you guys to touch on having help for Krista, and I definitely want to say that, because our office will be on Sunday, and we had people in there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday until wanting their packets. So if even you had a different person sitting with the packets that they were bought, just to hand them the packets, like, then they would give everyone in the office, like, here's your packet, here's your candy, like, oh, I want my wristband. They would give it, well, it's closed, I'm sorry, we're the 4-H office, we have nothing, and we gotta go there, but, and I know Kristen was running around like crazy, because I saw her, the lady opens every day, but if you went to somebody for those 3 days while we're open, just handing around all their packets, their candy packets, their booster buttons, that's what they wanted from us, that we couldn't help them with, so definitely not. And then, but after like Wednesday, then it kind of stopped, and they're like, okay, they have their stuff, then they didn't come down and ask us, but since our offices starts open on Sunday, they like, we don't want our stuff, and you have to go to that, over there. And I know Kristen said she had a few questions for Art, and we put signs out, but we were always there, and even though our office was 8 to 4, we were there 7 to 10 every night, so we're, and then I was wondering, do we have a fair date set in stone for next year? With the carnival, because I've already got people, when it's fair next year, because they want to plan it, their invitations and all that.
Yeah, so this week I put out, I had conversations with the other fairs, because our contract says that we'll be between Columbia and the Yamhill County Fair. Columbia County says we're the 3rd week, and it's like, what days are those? And we're, well, I don't have a calendar, it's the 3rd week. It's like, okay. And then Yamhill gave me their dates, so I sent a message off to Rainier and said, this is our understanding that our fair is the 22nd through the 25th. As soon as I get a response from them, 100% confirmed, we'll put that up on our website. But that's what we understand in our group.
Okay, that's what we got, I think last morning, and then I'm like, I'm gonna check today.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say, added on to that, we get a lot of that as well, where it's people coming to our office looking for 4-H and
Yeah,
it's down there, we're here.
Yeah.
An information we could help both ways.
yeah, and thank you for putting a new, internet line down, out of that.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll work on a more permanent solution.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta get the hotspot for a day, and then when you said to do that, we're all gone, and then we can have the bomb after that.
Cool.
Well, you did this, thank you.
My name is Kelly Linder. I live at 908 Young River Road. I have two things since being at the meeting. A couple years ago, we had a intern through Plaza Works, I think is the program that worked with the fairgrounds, and they helped with things like Kristen needs help with. They also spent the summer doing marketing things and helping get vendors, and they helped get the photo booth and things like that. So you might consider looking at Plaza Works and seeing if they have a intern student that is interested in marketing or something like that. I think that would be a huge asset. They did a great job in there a few years ago. The real reason that I came to the meeting tonight was that recently there was a question, I'm just gonna read this because it just keeps my thoughts organized. Recently there was a question posed at the work session in July, why the fair caters to 4-H and FFA during fairs. Our county serves over 400 kids in 4-H and FFA, with around 100 volunteer leaders and FFA advisors. I am a 31-year local business owner. My husband owns an agriculture dealership with his mom, and together we are local cattle producers and provide farm space for 4-H kids to raise cattle. I am a current FFA alumni board secretary and a past 4-H leader and a decade-long fair. My adult children are fourth generation 4-H and FFA members. Both my kids returned fair annually to volunteer in the barn. My son, who's 21, is a local meat goat breeder who not only mentors children, but is also a resource to new local breeders who are still in 4-H. He is able to do this because of the money that he raised in 4-H and FFA. Both my children also purchased their own vehicles and paid for college and trade school, graduating with 0 student debt because of 4-H and FFA. My father-in-law was not only an agriculture leader, his name is on 56 patents, but when he was in high school, he casted his vote at National FFA Convention to allow women into FFA. We are also auction supporters as a family. In my time on the FFA board, we have sent numerous children to competitions that have nothing to do with cattle and plows, and everything to do with public speaking, job interview skills, marketing, and presentation. We have sent kids to Washington, D.C. to leadership conferences where they get to meet with legislators and our staff. We also have sent groups of children to national convention. We have members that participate in the FFA band, which is a highly regarded selection, and we have numerous bronze, silver, and gold awards for national convention in our new chapter. We have a student who went to state and won proficiency and went into national FFA, winning a silver award in wildlife production and management proficiency, entrepreneurship placement with his Gillnet Boat business. He was a senior in high school. We have kids advocating and hosting breakfasts to bring awareness to the suicide rates in the ag industry, which are 3.5 times larger than the general population. Some statistics in regard to 4-H. The impact the youth says on a scale from 1 to 5, work readiness 4, leadership development 4, college and career readiness 3.7, STEM interest 3.1, community engagement 65%. Additionally, FFA has an even stronger impact on those 4-H averages. FFA members widely credit their involvement with enhancing belonging and social connectedness, leadership confidence, preparedness and motivation for college and career training, drive, resilience, and skill development. The children that participate can and do easily outwork grown men. Understanding profit and loss, how to get into race and then do it again. They understand the importance of community, volunteering, and mentorship. Additionally, ORS 565 states that county fair is a means of expedition
exhibition held for the purpose of disseminating knowledge concerning and encouraging the growth and prosperity of all agriculture, stock, raising, horticulture, mining, mechanical, artistic, and industrial pursuits in the county, including raising animals. In everything I've stated, my family is not the exception but the rule. And while I understand the need of community involvement and activities outside the barns, because I sat behind these tables, the foundation of county fair is and always will be 4-H and NFA. In closing, I would invite you to step out from behind the table and attend some of the many events involving 4-H and NFA kids, and you'll find out how dynamic, committed, and impressive these leaders of today and tomorrow, and exactly why they deserve to be catered to.
Is there any more public comment? DB Ward, 35448 Wilmer Lane, Astoria. I think that fair was much better this year than what's smooth. I think we always need improvements. I think that the people mover, whoever is driving the tractors, need to be, what's the word I want to use? Tested? Tested for the drive? Because I grew up with a couple that should not have been right. And then there's other things that we can address with warfare, like the drainage and whatnot. And just maybe cleaning things up some, I tried hard, but I think we got some little chip seal coming in a couple weeks for the road. Yeah, I'm parking.
Thank you for your hard call, that's good.
Thank you.
All right, any additional comment? All right. Consent calendar.
There's nothing on the consent calendar, we'll bring you all the minutes, at the next meeting, but again, all of the videos should be on the website already for this. We're interested in playing that, but with the fair, we still gotta finish the transcriptions for the prior meetings in July.
Right, board member reports. Anyone? Start with Lisa, anything?
No, I think I think we do it again, all of us should at least go over there and look at it. Their part there is really cool, but especially, I mean, it's awesome. I talk to kids and I see kids, the same kids riding my first time there, and even adults too, and they're so tiny, it's sweet, that they just have the best time ever, and just really, I think there's kids, adults, everyone, it's awesome.
I have nothing, but I feel like I missed out on a lot because I'm stuck running shows, so. You're going to report. And from that,
We already talked about it, and you're very sorry. But yeah, hopefully next year I will be able to find some help and not have to be there nonstop the whole time. So that's my only report.
Yeah, I think, what was the final number, like 150 something?
Yeah, it's like 130 or something. I don't remember actually. You can count up the
Yeah.
signatures. But
On the waivers for that, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they just did one thing.
well, and they came back at the end.
And they came back, right? So that was pretty good, I think that was a lot higher than you had anticipated. So-
Yeah, here's what I'm going. We're not 40 targets. Good.
Yeah.
I don't have anything.
I'd like to thank 4-H, number one, for such a good showing. And I think that this year was very well organized. We'll take into consideration some of the, suggestions that there were of getting people, with their camping and everything ahead of time. Want to thank the car show. The car show was really kind of cool. I went around there and I particularly liked the fire engine. Community involvement, the community competition was just amazing. You guys were just so busy all time and everything, so we definitely are gonna look at some of the stuff you guys suggested in your program, so thank you, everybody. Joel, yeoman's job, thank you. If I could have walked, I would have been helping you a little bit, I wasn't very good in the wheelchair.
So
I'm able to walk now, so that's good.
Thank you.
So, but I wanted to, if I missed anybody, thank you so very much. The fair, I thought this year was really well run. Plus our staff, 2 people on our staff, I don't know how you guys had the energy for 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
I just approved everybody's time.
Good job.
And it was
Thank you so very much.
Great. Okay, manager's report.
Does Mallory have any?
I'm sorry. Mallory.
No. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll jump into my report. Yeah, moving on from there, obviously we have a lot of cleanup and a lot to still think about in providing you guys reports, but we're jumping straight into the other projects that we have going. You know, Andrew is working out really well, and we've got a lot of projects on our mind. Some of the big stuff that is going to be happening, the roof project, we had a pre-construction meeting. They were meant to mobilize on the 18th, they pushed us to the 25th, so they'll be on site doing the mock-ups and starting that project on the 25th. They're expecting 3 weeks to get the project done. We're wanting to tackle the field maintenance that we're gonna do. I'm working through planning and our consultant to make sure that we're 100% above the board with the work that we're gonna do, and if there's permits and anything we need to do. It was suggested that we reach out to DSL, even though our consultant believes that we're entitled to do all the work in the reports. And abundance of caution, let's reach out to them and get their input in advance, and so then we'll know 100% that we're good to go with the ditch maintenance that we need to do on those fields. We're anticipating getting the horse stalls installed in barn C before the season is around. I think Kelly will be done at the end of the month. He has another seasonal position that he's gonna be rolling into in September. And then Brendan will be going back to school as soon as school starts up, so. We have a few more things to wrap up in the cleanup, and then we'll be diving into getting those 4 stalls done. There's a lot of other organization that we wanna do now that Andrew's here, and just kind of rethinking how we've done some of the stuff with where we stage equipment and how our tool shops and equipment are all organized. And connected with that, we plan to be working on a preventative maintenance plan where we'll go through and inventory all the equipment and list out what needs to be done monthly, semi-annually, annually, and so that we're not missing any of those things that need to be getting done. So those are our goals for maintenance and moving on from fair. The next big thing that we need to hit the ground on is the rough stock show for November 1st. So we'll need to establish what the ticket prices are gonna be for that and put together a sponsorship package and start going away on that.
Will the move interfere with any of the events we have scheduled?
It will not, we looked, when we had the pre-con meeting, we went over the events that were scheduled, you know, the events are all weekends. They won't be working on weekends, but, between the equipment lay down and the stuff that, and the storage materials, we've got those areas set aside so that they won't be in the way of the events. And then when like the setup day for the events, there's maybe 2 events over that 3-week period that will be coming in for setup during the work week. We'll make sure they have lots of signage out so that the events aren't busy for the week's time.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just a business agenda,
No business.
business, finance report.
Yeah, so the last page in here, this is through the end of the fiscal year. One thing to note. Yeah, he sent it to me as a PDF this time, he said about it in myself, and I can share this all with you directly if you're have time reading it. One of the key notes to appreciate on this is that this is the unaudited end of fiscal year report, and so they will be working on the final numbers here for the past fiscal year. They had a deadline up to like the July 28th or something like that for invoices and stuff that came in the prior fiscal year. And so they will make those entries, get us the audited report soon and send you that for fiscal year once we get it.
Awesome, thanks. Alright, so the last item is good the order. Covered you, John, if you have any share anything or
No fun with it.
I would just like to thank everyone that, were that time everybody's working really hard. And, I was like, John tracked most of our hours, good job, John, he was here. A lot, for sure, did a lot of work, so I appreciate everybody's efforts during the various times.
I would like to thank the two people who left already, but on top of that, everyone who helped out, and obviously 4-H was huge, and I wish Lauren Superintendent were here, and I think everything I hear went really smooth, so that's awesome. Thanks for all the volunteer help we got. Also. Hey, we're good, Lauren.
Great. Right, yep, I want to thank everyone for stepping up and covering all those extra hours, so I was gonna see. Very. That's, you guys know that, I mean, that was a great job. But if any conflicts, I did anything about the customer going for you, and that I allow is always the best, and the option was very capable of always doing. That's all good job. There's terrible. That's why I appreciate all your guys doing that. And looking forward to seeing. I think it's important for me this to work. That's how we can grow. Sorry, anything? All right.
I do have quick bit of the order. You know, as the season's wrapping up, I know that the state fair starts the week after this. There is still, I think, Clackamas County and probably 4 other fairs that are going. But I would encourage you guys, if you could attend other events, to go there and see how other fairgrounds are doing and bring that stuff back. The 26th on Tuesday is OFA day at the state fair, and if you're interested in going to that, and you use your OFA membership card to get into the fair, and go and start networking with other fairgrounds and board members and fair managers and service providers. And then again, the convention in October is really a valuable resource that I encourage you guys to make time for, even if it's just for one day or however day.
All right. Nothing else, we're adjourned. All right.
Right, that was a lot of fun, but here we are.